She lied about visiting her sister. But he found her with his own coworker. The champagne glass trembles in Maya's hand as she stares across the crowded gallery. She shouldn't be here. She should have stayed home, should have declined. The invitation should have done anything except dress in this midnight blue silk that clings to her curves and makes her feel dangerous. But here she is, and there he is. Alexander Carrington stands before her latest painting, the one she'd hoped he'd never see. The abstract piece bleeds crimson and gold across the canvas, all passion and longing she'd poured onto it during those sleepless nights when his voice echoed in her memory. When the phantom scent of his cologne lingered in her studio like a ghost she couldn't exorcise. 3 months. 3 months since she'd walked away from Carrington Architecture, from her position as senior designer, from the impossible tension that had built between them like electricity before a storm. 3 months since she'd last seen those steel-gray eyes that seemed to see straight through her professional facade to the woman beneath. He turns. Their eyes meet across the room, and Maya's breath catches. The gallery noise, clinking glasses, murmured conversations, the soft jazz drifting from hidden speakers, fades to nothing. There's only him, only the way his dark suit hugs his broad shoulders, only the slight tightening around his eyes that tells her he recognizes the painting for what it is, a confession written in brush strokes. He moves through the crowd with purpose, and Maya forces herself to remain still even as every instinct screams at her to run, to hide, to pretend this moment isn't happening. Maya! Her name on his lips is a prayer, a curse, a question all rolled into one. Up close, she can see the exhaustion around his eyes, the slight shadow of stubble along his jaw that suggests he came here straight from the office. Still working too hard, still carrying the weight of the world on those impossibly broad shoulders. Alex. Her voice comes out breathier than she intends. "I didn't think you'd come," Sarah insisted. His assistant's name hangs between them, a reminder of the professional world they once shared. "She said your work was unmissable." Maya's cheeks burn. Of course, Sarah would have seen the invitation, would have recognized the subtext in Maya's artistic choices. The woman had always been too perceptive for her own good. "And?" Maya tilts her chin up, calling on every ounce of courage she possesses. "What do you think?" Alex's gaze drifts back to the painting behind her, then returns to her face with an intensity that makes her knees weak. "I think," he says slowly, his voice low enough that she has to lean closer to hear, "that you're trying to kill me." The confession hangs in the air between them, raw and honest and utterly devastating. Maya's pulse hammers against her throat, and she's certain he can see it, can read the effect his words have on her as easily as he once read her architectural blueprints. "The piece is called What We Cannot Say," she whispers, and immediately regrets the admission. Too much, too honest, too dangerous. Maya. Her name is a warning now, rough with an emotion she recognizes because it mirrors her own. "We can't. No." The words rush out before he can finish the sentence, before he can remind her of all the reasons they walked away from each other. His engagement to Victoria Blackwell, the society princess whose family connections could make or break. His firm. Her own need for independence, for a career built on her own merit, rather than whispered rumors about sleeping her way to success. "I know we can't. I know nothing has changed, but everything has changed. The painting behind her is proof of that, evidence of the fire that still burns between them despite months of separation, despite every rational reason they should have forgotten each other by now." Alex steps closer, close enough that she can smell his cologne, sandalwood and cedar, and something uniquely him that makes her want to press her face against his throat and breathe him in. "Then why did you invite me?" The question cuts straight to the heart of things, to the truth she's been running from since the day she left his employ. Maya looks up at him, at the man who haunts her dreams and inspires her art, and makes a choice that will change everything. Because, she says, her voice steady despite the chaos in her chest, some confessions are too important to keep secret. The gallery continues to swirl around them, but they might as well be alone in the universe. Alex's eyes search her face as if memorizing every detail, and Maya holds her breath, waiting for him to speak, to move, to decide their fate. Instead, he does something that stops her heart entirely. He reaches out and traces one finger along, her bare arm from shoulder to elbow so lightly she might have imagined it. Except she didn't, and nothing will ever be the same. Maya escapes to the gallery's rooftop terrace the moment she can slip away unnoticed. The cool night air hits her overheated skin like a blessing, and she grips the wrought iron railing, trying to steady her racing pulse. The city sprawls below them, a carpet of lights that mirrors the stars above. But all she can think about is the ghost of Alex's touch, still tingling along her arm. She's been up here exactly 3 minutes when the terrace door opens behind her. Running away? His voice carries that hint of amusement that used to drive her crazy during late-night design sessions, when they'd argue over blueprints until the cleaning crew arrived and found them still bent over conference tables, so close their shoulders touched. Getting air. She doesn't turn around, afraid of what her face might reveal. The gallery was getting crowded. Liar. The single word hits like a caress, and Maya closes her eyes against the truth of it. She's always been a terrible liar, especially with him. Alex had seen through her professional mask from day one, had somehow known that beneath her carefully constructed competence lived a woman who painted her desires in secret and dreamed of hands that had no right to touch her. Footsteps approach, slow and measured, until he's standing beside her at the railing, close enough to touch, close enough that she can feel the warmth radiating from his body in the cool night air. Beautiful view, he says quietly. Yes. But Maya isn't looking at the city. She's looking at his profile, at the strong line of his jaw and the way the moonlight catches in his dark hair. Alex, what are we doing? I don't know. The honesty in his voice makes her chest tight. I told myself I wouldn't come tonight. Told myself it was too dangerous. And yet, here you are. Here I am. He turns to face her fully, and the intensity in his gaze makes her breath catch. 3 months, Maya. 3 months, and I still reach for the phone to call you every morning, still turn to ask your opinion on designs before I remember you're not there. The confession wounds and heals in equal measure. She wants to tell him she's done the same thing, that she's started a dozen emails she never sent, that she's driven past his building more times than she can count, hoping for just a glimpse of him through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his office. Instead, she says, Victoria must wonder why you're here. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Victoria is in the Hamptons with her mother planning our engagement party. The words hit like a physical blow, even though Maya already knew about the engagement, had read about it in the society pages, had seen the photos of them together at charity galas, looking like the perfect power couple they were destined to be. Congratulations. The word tastes like ashes on her tongue. Don't. Alex's voice is sharp now, edged with something that might be pain. Don't pretend this is what I want, isn't it? Maya finally turns to face him fully, and the anguish in his expression nearly undoes her. The merger with Blackwell Holdings will make you the most powerful architectural firm on the East Coast. Victoria is beautiful, connected, perfect for... She's not you. The words hang in the air between them, raw and devastating and utterly forbidden. Maya's heart pounds so hard she's certain he can hear it over the distant traffic noise below. Alex, she doesn't challenge me, doesn't make me want to be better, to create something beautiful and lasting and real. She doesn't argue with me. About the height of door frames or the placement of windows. She doesn't. He stops, runs a hand through his hair in a gesture so familiar it makes Maya's chest ache. She doesn't set me on fire just by walking into a room. Maya's carefully constructed walls begin to crumble. You can't say things like that. Why not? Because it's inconvenient? Because it complicates the perfect life I'm supposed to want? Alex steps closer, close enough that she has to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Or because you feel it too, and it scares you? Of course it scares me. The admission tears from her throat before she can stop it. Do you think this is easy? Do you think I wanted to spend 3 months unable to eat, unable to sleep, unable to create anything that isn't somehow about you? The painting downstairs was a mistake. All of this is a mistake. But even as she says it, Maya doesn't move away from him, can't move away, caught like a moth in the flame of his presence. Maybe, Alex murmurs, reaching up to trace the line of her jaw with fingers that tremble slightly. But some mistakes are worth making. Before Maya can respond, before she can think or breathe or remember all the reasons this is impossible, he leans down and presses his forehead against hers. They stand like that for a heartbeat, sharing the same air, balanced on the edge of a precipice that will change everything. Tell me to leave, he whispers against her lips. Tell me this is crazy and we should walk away. Maya closes her eyes, feeling the warmth of his breath on her skin, the solid strength of his body so close to hers. When she opens them again, her decision is written in her gaze. Stay. The word hovers between them like a bridge spanning an impossible distance. Stay. Such a simple word, but Maya can see in Alex's eyes that he understands its true meaning. Stay. And cross the line we've both been dancing around. Stay and admit that some forces are stronger than logic or propriety or carefully laid plans. Stay and change everything. Alex's thumb traces along her cheekbone with reverent care, as if she's made of spun glass and might shatter at any moment. Maya, he breathes, her name a question and a prayer all at once. I know what I'm asking. Her voice is steadier than she expected, considering her heart is trying to beat its way out of her chest. I know what this means. Do you? His other hand comes up to frame her face, holding her as if she's precious, as if she's something worth protecting even from himself. Because once I kiss you, I won't be able to pretend anymore. Won't be able to tell myself this is just some fantasy I can ignore. The honesty in his voice breaks something open inside her chest. This is Alex, stripped of his CEO armor, vulnerable in a way she's never seen him. The most powerful man she knows, asking permission to touch her as if she holds his entire world in her hands. Maybe she does. I've been pretending for 3 months, Maya whispers, her hands fisting in the lapels of his jacket to anchor herself. Pretending I could forget you. Pretending that what we had was just professional respect. Pretending my heart didn't break a little more every day I had to wake up knowing I'd never see you again. Alex's eyes darken, storm clouds gathering in those gray depths. Maya, no, let me finish. She needs to say this, needs him to understand that this isn't just desire or loneliness or the romance of a moonlit terrace. I love you, Alex. Not the CEO, not the successful architect, not the man everyone expects you to be. I love the way you hum when you're concentrating. I love that you know the coffee orders of every person in your office. I love how you fight for your vision even when everyone else thinks you're crazy. Her voice breaks on the last words, 3 months of suppressed emotion finally finding their way to the surface. I love you, and I know it's impossible, and I know it's selfish, but I couldn't let tonight end without telling you. For a moment that stretches like eternity, Alex just stares at her. Maya can see her confession landing, can watch as it rearranges, something fundamental in his expression. When he finally speaks, his voice is rough with emotion. You want to know what impossible is? His thumbs sweep across her cheekbones, catching tears she didn't realize she'd shed. Impossible is sitting through board meetings and thinking about the way you bite your lip when you're concentrating. Impossible is designing buildings that will never be as beautiful as your laugh. Impossible is loving someone so much it rewrites your entire understanding of what you thought you wanted from life. Maya's breath catches. Alex, I love you, too. The words rush out of him like he's been holding them back by sheer force of will. God help me, Maya. I love you so much I can barely function. I love your passion, your talent, the way you challenge every assumption I've ever made about myself. I love that you're brave enough to create art that makes people feel something real. His forehead presses against hers again, and Maya can feel him trembling. I love you, and it's destroying me because I don't know how to choose between what I want and what everyone expects of me. The confession hangs in the air between them, beautiful and terrible and more honest than anything Maya has ever heard. She can see the war playing out in his expression, duty against desire, obligation against love. Then don't choose, she whispers. Not tonight. Tonight, just be here, with me. Alex's control finally snaps. He kisses her with 3 months of suppressed longing, his lips claiming hers with a desperate hunger that makes her knees weak. Maya melts into him, her hands sliding up to tangle in his hair as she pours everything she couldn't say into the kiss. It's perfect and terrible and not nearly enough, all at once. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, Alex rests his forehead against hers again. The city lights blur around them, reality softening at the edges until there's nothing but this moment, this man, this impossible love that refuses to be ignored. One night, Alex says quietly, and Maya can hear the promise and the goodbye already threaded through his voice. Give me one night to pretend we can have this. Maya's heart breaks and soars simultaneously. One night. It's not enough, will never be enough, but it's infinitely more than she thought she could have. One night, she agrees, and seals the bargain, with another kiss that tastes like forever and feels like goodbye. But for now, it's enough. For now, it's everything. Maya's studio apartment has never felt smaller than it does with Alex standing in the doorway, his presence filling every corner of the space. The ride here passed in charged silence, stolen glances, and almost touches that left them both breathless with anticipation. Now, surrounded by her paintings, evidence of her talent, her passion, her secret longings, Maya feels exposed in ways that have nothing to do with the silk dress clinging to her curves. This is where you create, Alex says softly, moving into the room with the careful attention he once brought to examining architectural blueprints. His eyes trace over canvas after canvas, taking in the explosion of color and emotion that decorates her walls. It's beautiful, Maya. You're extraordinary. The reverence in his voice makes her throat tight. Victoria probably has a pristine penthouse with museum-quality art chosen by an expensive decorator. Maya's studio is chaos and creativity, and the scent of turpentine and dreams, and she suddenly feels foolish for bringing him here. It's not much, she begins, but Alex silences her with a look that steals her breath. It's you, he says simply. Every brushstroke, every choice, every brave splash of color. This room tells me more about who you are than 3 years of working together ever did. He stops in front of a painting she'd forgotten was there, another abstract. This one painted just last week in shades of silver and blue that match his eyes. The longing in it is so obvious now, so transparent, that Maya wants to hide behind. Her hands. You've been painting me, Alex observes, his voice careful, controlled. I've been painting what you make me feel, Maya corrects, moving to stand beside him. There's a difference. Is there? He turns to face her, and the intensity, in his gaze makes her pulse race. Because when I look at these, I see everything I was too afraid to say. Every moment I wanted to pull you into my office and kiss you until we both forgot every reason why we couldn't have this. The confession hangs in the air between them, electric and dangerous. Maya's carefully constructed composure finally cracks. "Do you know what it was like?" The words pour out of her like paint from an overturned jar. "Sitting in those meetings, watching you present to clients, pretending I didn't want to trace the line of your shoulders with my hands, pretending I couldn't feel you looking at me when you thought I wasn't paying attention." Alex steps closer, close enough that she can see the silver flecks in his eyes, the way his pupils dilate as he drinks in her words. "I was always looking at you," he admits roughly. "Every chance I got. The way you tucked your hair behind your ear when you were thinking. The way you'd bite your lip when you disagreed with something but were too polite to say so. The way you'd light up when we'd finally solve a design problem together." His hands find her waist, settling there with a possessiveness that makes her knees weak. "I memorized everything about you, Maya, and it still wasn't enough." The last threads of Maya's resistance snap. She reaches up to frame his face with her hands, marveling at the roughness of his late-night stubble against her palms. "Then take more," she whispers. "Take everything. Just for tonight, take everything I have to give." Alex's control shatters visibly. He kisses her with a hunger that borders on desperate, walking her backward until her spine hits the exposed brick wall of her apartment. The cool stone against her back contrasts sharply with the heat of his body pressed against her front, creating a delicious friction that makes her gasp into his mouth. "You're so beautiful," he murmurs against her throat, his lips finding the sensitive spot just below her ear that makes her arch against him. "So talented, so passionate, so perfectly yourself. I've dreamed about this, about you, about the way you'd feel in my arms." Maya's hands explore the broad expanse of his shoulders, finally able to touch him the way she's wanted to for so long. "I used to watch your hands during meetings," she confesses breathlessly. "Wonder what they'd feel like on my skin. Wonder if you'd touch me like I was something precious or something to be conquered." "Both," Alex growls against her collarbone, his teeth grazing sensitive skin. "Precious enough to worship, tempting enough to devour." The painting supplies scattered on her nearby easel catch the moonlight streaming through her windows, creating an artistic chaos that somehow perfectly captures this moment. Beautiful, messy, imperfect, and absolutely right. Maya has spent her entire career trying to capture passion on canvas, but nothing she's ever created compares to the masterpiece of Alex's hands on her skin, his whispered confessions in her ear, the way he looks at her like she's the answer to every question he's ever asked. "One night," he reminds her, but his voice lacks conviction now, as if even he no longer believes they can walk away from this unchanged. "One night," Maya agrees, pulling him down for another kiss that tastes like forever. But forever starts with right now. Dawn creeps through Maya's studio windows like a thief, painting everything in shades of gold and regret. She lies in Alex's arms, her head on his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath her ear. They've been awake for hours, neither willing to break the spell by sleeping, both knowing that sunrise brings the return of reality, of obligations, of all the reasons this can't last. Alex's fingers trace lazy patterns along her bare shoulder, each touch a small act of worship, a silent goodbye. "I should go," he says quietly, but his arms tighten around her even as he speaks the words. "I know." Maya doesn't move, doesn't lift her head from the sanctuary of his embrace. If she doesn't look at his face, she can pretend this isn't ending, can pretend the sun isn't rising on a world where he belongs to someone else. Maya. Her name carries a weight of unshed tears, of words that can never be spoken beyond these walls. "Last night was perfect," She finally looks up at him, memorizing the way the early light catches in his dark hair. The tender expression in those steel-gray eyes she's grown to love so completely. "Don't you dare apologize for it." "I'm not apologizing." His thumb traces the line of her cheekbone with infinite gentleness. "I'm thanking you for giving me something beautiful to remember, for showing me what it feels like to be loved for who I am, not what I can provide or what I represent." The words break something open in Maya's chest. She can see the war playing out in his expression. Love battling duty, desire fighting obligation. Part of her wants to beg him to stay, to choose her, to burn down his carefully constructed life, for the chance at something real. But she loves him too much for that. "You have to go to her," Maya says softly, the words tasting like ashes but carrying the weight of truth. "Victoria deserves better than a husband who's in love with someone else. And you deserve better than a life built on a lie." Alex closes his eyes as if her words cause physical pain. "I can't just walk away from everything I've built. The merger, the expectations." "You can." Maya sits up, pulling the sheet with her, needing to see his face clearly for this conversation. "Alex, you're the most brilliant architect I know. Your talent isn't dependent on Victoria's family connections or their money. You could build an empire on your own merit. And destroy my reputation in the process? Hurt Victoria publicly? She's a good person, Maya. She doesn't deserve to be humiliated because you fell in love?" Maya's voice is gentle but firm. "Alex, a loveless marriage won't make you noble. It'll make you both miserable. Victoria deserves someone who looks at her the way you looked at me last night. And you deserve to be with someone who inspires the best version of yourself." Alex sits up beside her, running his hands through his hair in that familiar gesture of frustration. "It's not that simple, isn't it?" Maya reaches for his hands, holding them in her smaller ones. "I'm not asking you to choose me. I'm asking you to choose yourself. To choose honesty over convenience, love over obligation. Whether that means we figure out how to be together or we both walk away and build new lives separately." The confession hangs in the air between them, brave and terrifying and absolutely true. Maya can see the exact moment her words land, can watch as they rearrange something fundamental in Alex's understanding of his choices. "You would do that?" he asks quietly. "Walk away even if it means we never see each other again? If it meant you were free to find real happiness?" "Yes." The words nearly kill her to say, but Maya has never meant anything more. "I love you enough to want your happiness more than my own." Alex stares at her for a long moment, and Maya can see him cycling through arguments, justifications, all the reasons he should put his clothes back on and return to his predetermined life. Then something shifts in his expression. A settling, a decision, a moment of absolute clarity. "I choose us," he says simply, and Maya's world tilts on its axis. "Alex, I choose us," he repeats, more firmly this time. "It won't be easy. There will be consequences, complications, people who won't understand. But I can't go back to pretending I don't love you. Can't marry Victoria, knowing that every day with her will be a betrayal of what we have." Maya's eyes fill with tears she's been holding back all night. "Are you sure? Really sure? Because once you make this choice, there's no going back." Alex cups her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away her tears with infinite tenderness. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. You make me better, Maya. You make me brave enough to choose love over fear, truth over convenience. I want to build something real with you, a life, a future, maybe even a family someday." Maya launches herself into his arms, kissing him with all the joy and relief and desperate love in her heart. When they finally break apart, both laughing and crying at the same time, the sunrise streaming through her windows no longer looks like an ending. It looks like a beginning.